Yeah.
Folks, first of all, thank you for inviting me to speak at the Doha chapter of ICAI. I learned that Doha chapter is the oldest amongst the 44 overseas chapters. And I want to give my best wishes to Nirlay Bhatt, chairman of the chapter and team, for organizing the first physical event after 21 months. I know that COVID has been traumatic for most people, and for all of you to come together after 21 months is really a very big development. So when Nirlay asked me to come and talk to you, I was thinking what to talk, and I said, I'm going to talk about the future, not about the profession or the practice, about what is happening in India. Because I do believe that India is undergoing a tremendous transformation. It's a very large country. Therefore, you don't see it on the ground in the physical building, in the infrastructure. But if you're in Bangalore, you see it very often. And I'll share you my excitement as you go along. So I said, I'll present to you India, a startup nation, how India is getting transformed to digital India. Next, please. We need to look at data globally to find out what is happening on the world. 250 years ago, an event took place which changed the world, and that was the Industrial Revolution. Till then, India, China made up the largest part of the global GDP because we are the largest number of skilled people, large exporters, large manufacturing, using human muscle and animal power. But then the West came up with the steam engine, which was invented in Great Britain, and that allowed them to overtake Asia. They also started colonization, sucking out their resources from Asia. They had capital by then because they had traded with South America. They looted the gold of the Incas and other civilizations there, and they had accumulated it. They also had trade with Asia because of Vasco da Gama and the trade route to the sea. So there was an explosion of growth in Europe. In 1800 to 1900, Europe dominated the world. Then came the world wars, and we saw what happened. The global order changed after 1945 when the World War ended. World War II ended. But that created the supply chain for the Industrial Revolution. And the West controlled the supply chain. Those who control the supply chain through shipping, through pipelines, through distribution, warehousing, retail, wholesale, financial services, control the world because you need a supply chain to connect with the customers all around the world. So the producers have to go through the supply chain, and supply chain today possibly makes more money than the producers. But that has changed about 20 years ago with the rise of the internet. And if you look at data today, out of 7.83 billion people on the planet, 5.5, maybe 6 billion, this old data, have a mobile phone, and 5 billion have internet connection. And that is unbelievable. We are all on the same platform. And through the internet, we can transact synchronously and asynchronously. And we get access to information. We get access to so much that the internet becomes the primary mode of contact between producers and consumers. And this can work 24/7 in any part of the world. All you need is a low-cost mobile device and a cheap data plan. And that's happening. Next, please. And the impact of that has been seen in the global marketplace. Or at the top 10 companies in the world by market value, 8 are digital companies. I know that now Microsoft is more than 2.5 billion, and Amazon is also crossed 2 billion. So there are more than 3 companies with 2 billion valuation. This is astonishing, right? We never heard of a company with trillion-dollar valuation. Now there's $2 trillion, and it's totally astonishing. But look at the domination of the digital companies today. Next. The new normal is global tech conglomerates. We heard of conglomerates who control the world, like the oil companies and possibly the FMCG companies. But today is all about the global tech conglomerates, and they have their own system. Apple has the iOS system with 2 billion people. Alphabet has the Android system with 2.5 billion people. And Amazon has got its own system all around the world. And they're able to control the global economy because all of us are part of the system, and they shut out everybody else who is not in the system. And the system is controlled by them. They make money every time you transact, every time you do something. And this is very, very significant and very dangerous for all of us. Next. And these global tech businesses have become expansionary monopolies because they have the power And you may be surprised, and I'm sure you know about it though, that when you go to Google and search, Google tells you what it wants you to see, not what you want to see. So you can pay Google to show whatever you want to show, and Google does that. And that also means that as we, as they grow, all of us become pieces of data, and the data resides with them, and we lose control over our future. They know what we eat, what we do, what we see, what we like, and they start pushing goods and services to meet the needs. Next. And India too has done well. 1.39 billion people, 1.2 billion mobile devices, 1 billion unique numbers, 800 million people on the internet, and about 550 million people on social media. So India has become a digital nation in a short period of time, driven by Prime Minister Modi. You must admire Prime Minister Modi, because in 2015, from the Red Fort, he said he will have a digital India, a startup India, and a stand-up India, and you see it all over the place. Next. And cost of data has plummeted because of geo. You can see we have the lowest cost of data in the world, and the number of people on the internet is now gone to 800 million, and we consume 16.5 GB of data per user per month, which is very, very high, maybe in the top 5 in the world. Next. And you can see the time that people are spending, enormous amount of time. So we are now maybe 12 to 15% of global app downloads, and we also a app creator. So we are an app creator and an app user, and that is very unique because very few countries are app creators and app users. And we can see that e-commerce penetration is going up faster in India. It's going to change in India. It's going to impact India, but that, we can't stop the force of change. Next. There's been a rise in first-time shoppers and users because of COVID, and the data is here. Next. And you can see some more data about the internet economy, about YouTube proliferation, etc. This is just data. It's 1 year old, but the numbers will be much larger. I said I'll show it to you. That should show you the impact of the change. Next, please. So the startup ecosystem will create a $10 trillion economy in India. We thought by 2030, but now I think by 2031 and 2032, provided the dollar-rupee rate stays constant or doesn't move up too much. Next. We have 60,000 startups which created $400 billion of value, the third largest system in the world. For many of you, it may be a surprise. India is doing very well in the digital world. So don't believe the Indian media, don't believe all of them running fake narratives that growth is not happening, economy is not happening, because they're all political agents. Don't believe all that nonsense. Because if you want to see the truth, come to Bangalore and you can see what is happening in India. And this $400 billion of value is very real. Next. This is built on top of the IT service industry. By 2025, we could have possibly $250 billion of revenue for exports. This year will be $170 billion. This is more than the oil export of Saudi Arabia. For a small part of the brain power that we export from India, we're earning more than the Saudi Arabian oil export, the largest in the world. The IT industry is what, 225 billion, maybe the largest industry in India. 5 million people are employed, and 500 to 600,000 people are going to get jobs this year in the IT industry alone. Of the top 10 software service companies by market value in the world, 5 are Indian. Of the top 5, 3 are Indian. Of the 2.8 million employees, the top 10, 2 million are Indians. And of the 6 million people in America in software, 1 million are Indians. Of the 5 million here, 2.5 million work for American companies. So out of the 8.5 million working for American companies, 3.5 million are Indians. 60% of global outsourcing for software comes to India. We dominate the world. And people ask some silly question, why India doesn't have a Google, Facebook, Apple? They forget that they all happened 30, 25 years ago. And 30, 25 years ago, we are a small economy. We have no capital. Today is very different. In 1991, India was 275 billion. And today we are 3 trillion. We've grown at 8.6% a year for the last 30 years. And that is tremendous growth. Population has grown at maybe 1.1% a year during that period, 1.6% a year during that period. So we've grown in real terms by 7% in dollar terms. On top of that, we have the startup ecosystem. We have, like I said, by 2025, we'll have 100,000 startups employing 3.25 million people, as against 1.5 million now. And we'll have 200 unicorns. And between 2021 January to 2025 December, we'll have between $150 to $200 billion being invested. If none of you invested in startups, I would urge you to look at it as an asset class. because the greatest growth in value is happening in startups right now in India. Next. Indians raised 70 billion capital from 2014 to 20, and out of which only 10% is Indian. And this year, 30 billion has come in. 25 billion, the figure we had 2 months ago, in the beginning of end of October. Now I'm told it's 30 billion, and this is tremendous. It's concentrated in Bangalore, Mumbai, Hyderabad. It's not all across India, in a few places. Next, please. India today has 81 unicorns. I think 82 today. 82 unicorns. 42 unicorns have happened this year in 11 months. So we'll be 200 unicorns by 2025. 42 unicorns. Show me one country where there have been 42 unicorns. The US has 500 unicorns. China maybe 250. India has about 82. So India is the third largest country, leaving behind Europe, leaving behind Japan, leaving behind everything else. And look at these companies. We know at least 10 companies here who could be unicorns in the next 6 months. Next. In the US too, Indians are creating unicorns out of 4.2 million. 67 unicorns have been created. Now it could be maybe 75. It is old data. I don't know how many unicorns you people have created in the Middle East. Maybe you should gather data and show that to everybody, Nirlep. I think it's important for you all to see how many of you are becoming entrepreneurs in the Middle East and how can you get those unicorns in the Middle East and make a lot more money. Next. And this old data, of course, Paytm today is still 15 billion. And I think PhonePe has gone up, Zoho has gone up, Oyo is doing an IPO. And the India's 10 most valuable unicorns are worth 150 billion. Nykaa is not in the list. We have to update this list. Next. This is old data. Today, we have 42 unicorns. By November end of 37. So we had 5 more in the last maybe, last week of November and now. And you can see the unicorn list here. Because every day you open a paper, you have a new unicorn. And some of them you have not heard of. Even for us, it is something unbelievable. Next. Out of $400 billion, expect to be $1 trillion by 2025. By 2025, the listed companies, including startup and service companies, could be $1 trillion. So by 2025, we could be creating $2 trillion of digital value. And I think this is fantastic. Next. And it's across all industries, enterprise tech. Look at all the areas: customer service software, retail tech, Salesforce automation, finance, accounting, business intelligence. This is all for enterprises. And we got many good companies, as we can see later. Next. For example, here, Darwinbox is one of the best in the world in HR. Maybe you people should talk to them to see how you can use them. They got more than 700 customers. In HR SaaS cloud, they are better than SAP and Oracle. Open is the world's largest MSME neobank in the world. They're getting 150,000 MSMEs coming on the portal every month now. And they got about 1.6 billion MSMEs already. Next. You got deep tech. This is old data, but a lot more have come by then. In IoT, in 3D printing, in smart homes, in AI, etc. Next. Some of the deep tech companies, for example, Dosi by March will have 10,000 beds under which there will be a mat with IoT devices which will capture the 5 vital signals of the human body, like breathing, blood pressure, heartbeat, etc., and transmit the data to a mobile device so a doctor knows every few minutes how a patient is doing somewhere, so that every bed can be made into an ICU. This is unbelievable innovation. Next. India is growing as the deep tech hub, startups in AI, IoT. If anybody tells you, oh, what about IoT, what about things, tell them there are a lot there. They're small. You must remember, people like to compare us to the US, but the US is a $22 trillion economy. We are just 3 trillion. Despite being a small economy, we have so much. Next. And tech solutions are digitally upskilling millions of employees. Jobs are being created. 1 crore jobs are being created in India every year. The data is there in the EPFO and ESI figures. Somebody cares to see them. Next. Active venture capitalists. We have large number from outside India. Indians are now investing too. We have more than 650 AIFs with more than 5 lakh crore of corpus. And every year, this is going up by $25–30 billion. So you can imagine the kind of scale that's happening in this country. Next. India will go from a data poor to data rich by 2025. We're already more than halfway there. And it's very exciting because when you have a lot of data like India does, you're going to have AI and machine intelligence running on them to do exciting things, finding out patterns and discovering new areas of industrial growth. Next, please. Leap in data. This shows you how much time people are spending, how it has grown in education, mobile payments. In mobile payments, we had 4.2 billion transactions. And last month, we did, for the second time, more than 100 billion amount of transactions. And like Prime Minister Modi said recently, the UPI transactions are more than the ATM cash withdrawals every month. Next. Steady transition, you can see here, this October, even in November, we had more than 100 billion and 4.2 billion transactions because November had 1 day less than October. And 1 day makes a big difference. Next. There are now neobanks coming. Neobank are apps sitting on top of a bank account. So you can work on multiple bank accounts. You can create records of all the transactions. You can do the account. You can do so many things that could be done. You see, the issue in banking is banking software was designed for the regulator to get information. Banking software was designed for the bankers to get a view of what they want. It is not designed for the users. When you and I as users go to a bank and use their app, it's difficult for us to navigate, get everything. So a layer of neobanks are coming, sitting on top of the bank software, and that is allowing all of us to intuitively do banking transactions, consolidate all the bank accounts, move the money between the bank accounts easily, make the payroll, and generally do all the transactions that we do with the bank seamlessly without having to interact with the banks. This is exciting, and this will change the way the banking is done, and these companies will have more control. Next. And you can see the online content, how it's growing. You know, there's a time that the amount of number of people who spend time watching video, watching vlogs, listening to music, etc. Well, Indians have a lot of time. I do agree. Indians have surplus time, but nevertheless, look at this assimilation of technology. Next. Content consumption explodes to COVID, this whole data. It just shows you how things have changed. Next. Gaming. India is a large gaming market. And why is gaming interesting? Because globally, what is happening in gaming? Gaming is creating its own ecosystem in the metaverse. The metaverse is a place where virtual reality and reality merge together. The virtual world and the real world come together. So you interact with somebody, you'll have your own avatar, you'll have a digital twin doing all kinds of things. And you can spend all your time on that and create a whole new world. You can have buildings, you can buy and sell, you can play games, you can earn money, you can create currency. And that is creating its own banking system and its own new world. That's why Facebook changed its name to Meta. And I think the metaverse is something incredible. It can be good for society and bad for society, but it's an entirely new world of doing things. And that could be a parallel world, and we don't know what the implications are. But for that, gaming and gamers are at the forefront, and you can see the number of gaming companies in India. Next. You'll be surprised that more hours are streamed watching people play games than playing games themselves on Twitch, for instance. And in India, we are Loco, which is an aggregator of all the games, which has done extremely well and grown very, very rapidly. So you're seeing this kind of extreme innovation coming up in India. Next. Then in EdTech companies, you can see how EdTechs are altered. Byju has got 7 million subscribers. Byju is worth 18 billion. My fund, Adding Capital, gave them the first check of 9 million at 20 million pre in 2012. Now we got 5 unicorns, and you can see them across the board. More than 4,400 EdTech companies are there, out of which 250 are doing reasonably well. But this is the way education is going to change. So we are not going to have a fully online education for children. It's not going to work because children have to grow up. They need a physical world. But definitely the virtual world and the internet is going to play a big role in education in future. Next. Health tech. There's e-pharmacy companies. Pharmacy is becoming a $5 billion company trying to do an IPO, telemedicine, diagnostic and care, health and fitness. A lot of things happening all over the place. And I think it's exciting because healthcare will reduce costs. All the digital companies reduce costs, increase. You'll be surprised that research says only 35% of the time a super specialist is used every day. And by using technology, if their time utilization goes up to 65, 70%, look at the benefit. Many people could get consulting with the top specialists on the world. Next. And this is important for all of us change because the internet is only 20 years old and it's changed the world. And now in the next 10 years, we're going to see 4x to 5x the change that we saw in the last 20 years. And it's happening because of the speed of technology assimilation. I think this is extremely important. And you can see the speed of change. Arogya Setu took just 13 days to get 50 million users, whereas Pokemon took 19 days and Twitter took 2 years, right? Now you could get 50 million, 100 million, maybe 15 days. That means the speed of change is accelerated, and that's fantastic. Next. India is having a national health stack created by volunteers along with government. And here we're going to have the data of 500 million Indians. Already 250 million Indians have joined. 22 million, 2.2 crore Indians have got medical relief to hospitalization under Prime Minister Modi's Ayushman Bharat case. So a lot of things are happening on a big scale, on a scale never seen before in the world. This platform will be the largest in the world. Next. E-groceries are growing well. You can see all these companies, more and more unicorns will come up. Next. E-grocery is doing big business. COVID was an inflection year because people got their groceries by an app. People got the entertainment by an app, did the banking by an app. Children got education through an app. We got a health through an app. Everything went through an app. And we logged in, and suddenly we found that we could interact with the world and get most things done without going outside. And that is a revelation. Next. And clean mobility options are coming. The future is going to be the age of EV. For example, this year, India will sell more than 100,000 two-wheelers. India sells 22 million two-wheelers a year. And by 2025, maybe 65% of all two-wheelers will be electric. And this is tremendous. We have Ather, a ground-up vehicle. We'll have Ola. We'll have Yulu, which is using this all across Bangalore. And they're using machine learning and AI to create networks to make sure that, people can use it and optimize the use, because optimization will be the key. Next. So thank you very much. And I want to end my talk by saying India is changing rapidly. Digitalization has taken place in a very scale never seen before. And the changes are coming. And the changes are very evident all across India. And Bangalore has 30,000 IT companies, 10,000 startups. Bangalore has 45 unicorns. And Bangalore is getting this year $15 to $16 billion of capital for a city of just 11 million people. So if you come to Bangalore, you see things happening. You go to Ahmedabad, you may see a little bit. You go to Delhi, you may see a little bit. But you've got to be concentrated in a place like Bangalore. And India is changing very, very rapidly. Thank you very much. I'll be very happy to answer any questions or just to talk to you. Thank you.
Nirlap, you're on mute if you're talking.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. And what a power pack session. We wish that, sir, we could welcome you at a better time. But hopefully that time will also come. We all look up to the future with a sense of optimism. And definitely we look forward to welcome you to Qatar, sir, one day. And I also take the opportunity to pay my gratitude to entire team of 314 Capital, also to Siddharth, sir, who has been very kind enough to grace our first ever startup summit of the chapter. Oh. So that was also the, I would say, the first thematic event, which we planned in April 2021. So very grateful to you, sir. And
I'd like to add just one thing, Nirlap. Just very much resonates to what sir just spoke about. Thanks to technology, though we couldn't have you here physically, we're able to have you use this platform to have you here through technology. And I think that's the next best option in this.
Yeah.
point.
And I would urge all of you to have a look at the startup sector, see what is happening and get connected. Digital is the future. So all of you have to get connected, help startups in their practice, work with them, be investors, and do many things, because that is the future. You got to be a part of the future.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. And if you can please stay for some time, and Vignesh, can we please stop the recording?
Yep.